Hello team, today's challenge is contrast rating 3. So we are on day 3 of this contrast rating challenge. The first one, if we jump all the way back, we were given the contrast ratio, right? As a string of all things. We worked around that, but not a problem. And the relative text size, whether it was large or normal. And based on that, we calculated a value, right? So over here, we had that code. We had a little bit of data. We talked about where to put this fail. Could it be in with this data, or could it just be our default return, right? Hard-coded value. We talked about all that stuff, and then we ran through the list and returned the 1. We also did a little bit of stuff to figure out if it was a number, because, again, it was passed in as a string, and we wanted to make sure. But for the most part, it just works, right? We can do that and not a problem. Then we copied this. So we took it, we copied it, and brought it over to number 2, right? Number 2 was right here. And for number 2, we were given our luminance values. So now we had to, instead of getting the ratio, we had to calculate our own ratio. And we did that. We brought it in. This was all the code from last time. Since then, I've added a little comment just to show the separation. But if I pasted this in, this is what we got from challenge 1, right? And then down here, we created a little helper function for the contrast ratio, pass in those 2 luminances. We didn't actually need to sort, but I added it because what happens if we do need to sort later on, right? So there's a little bit of a sorting, and then we did the ratio math and used that, right? We used that in our original function, which I had to rename because they're reusing function names here. But that's the only real change that I had to do, was changing the function name. And then we could use that old code to get today's value, or technically yesterday's value, right? And we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to take this, we're going to copy it over and bring it back to our code, where today we have to, we get RGB values. And so we need to convert the RGB values to the luminance and then send it up the chain, right? Doing the luminance to ratio and returning whatever the rating is, right? So right over here into the code, right above it all, I'm going to paste all this, right? And just to keep it consistent, I'm going to grab this comment and bring it down here so that there's a nice clear separation. Again, they have a similar name, so we need to rename this. What did I call it? I call it from luminance, like this, which is making that name a little bit long. We can clean out some of the comments. The comments aren't doing anything, but we are not going to change any other code, okay? So any active code that we've already proven to work, we're going to leave it alone and just use it, right? And that's the important part. So down here, we need a tool to convert RGB to luminance, okay? For that, I'm going to go function RGB, RGB to luminance, like this. I think that's what I called it. I absolutely did. RGB, we're passing that in and doing some stuff. What are we doing? Well, we're doing all this math, right? So let's just go and grab that and drop it in here as comments right here. Okay, so we're going to comment that out. This bit, the calculate luminance, that happens last. So we're going to break that away and do our thing. But we need to do all this math for each individual channel, right? And for that, I like to use a map. So right here we have const. I'm going to go RGB, and we are going to send that in as RGB dot, oh, I did it all wrong. Let's not do it that way. RGB dot map. The value right here, sending that into our callback and doing the math. The first bit of math is dividing by 250. So const decimal, we're converting it to a decimal, which means that it is the value divided by 255, right? Hopefully that makes sense. And then right here we return. What do we return? Well, we return is decimal less than equal to this number. So copying that. So decimal less than equal to this number. If it is, then we do decimal divided by 12.92, just like this. Otherwise, it is this very long line, copying it, pasting it in, changing channel to decimal, and changing the the power to the double asterisk. Okay. So that's it. Like that's quite a bit, but this is what we need in order to get these values out. And then from there, we go down here and we calculate the value. So in fact, all we really need to do is clear this out and go return all this, but converting these to lowercase. So this is R and the G is lowercase and the B is lowercase. Brilliant, right? That is everything that they've asked for. So we've converted it to a decimal. Then based on whatever that decimal is, we either divide by a certain amount or we add some and divide some and raise it to the power of, and then we add all that together. We don't need to wrap any of this in parentheses because order of operations gets it done for us, right? Pretty straightforward. Down here, we can absolutely use that. So copying this, bringing it down and going L1. That should look really familiar. We've used that up above. We're going to use that again right here. So L1 is RGB to luminance with RGB 1, right? And then doing the same for L2, doing some multi-cursors to change this. Brilliant. And now we just have to use it, right? We have all this other code. We've already done it. So we grab all this, copying it down. We don't even need to change the names because we've been very consistent about L1, L2, and is large text, at which point we're done, right? And it's really that simple. So the key here is that as we go along, as we do this, we just build into the system, right? So we started out using the ratio that they passed in, making sure that it all worked. Definitely go watch that video if you haven't yet. On day 2, yesterday, we calculated our ratio from scratch from luminance values, right? So we got the luminance values instead of the ratio itself. Again, just using what we previously had. All we did was rename the function because they're forcing us to, right? And sending it up the chain. And then today we did that exact same thing. So today they're passing in RGB values, and we found a way to convert RGB to luminance, at which point we passed it up the chain. And if they come back tomorrow and they want to do it with hex code or HSL, so long as we have a way of doing the formula, we can continue to use this system. In fact, if they come back with hex code tomorrow, we could convert the hex code to RGB. That's a challenge that existed a long time ago, right? At which point we could just use this function. So we can keep building in. Is there a performance implication? Possibly, right? I haven't tested that. So we probably should, right? It might make more sense to go direct, but in terms of the reusability of this code, it is awesome, right? And I love how it's shaping up. At this point, I would probably start thinking about moving it into a class so it's all a package system. But again, it gets the job done. Not every solution, just hopefully one good solution. I feel like that's where we've ended up today. If you disagree or you have questions about it, let me know in the comments. If you went a different way, also let me know in the comments, right? I love to read that. Otherwise, for today, sorry, this has been contrast rating number 3, and I will see you tomorrow.